Well, we're glad that you're joining us here on Open Line. I'm Chuck Long here with expert in the legal field. We're talking about Kevin Kennedy. We've said many, many times when Kevin's on, it's a chance to help everybody because Kevin, he so understands the law. And when you're out there and you're looking at your own situation, I know a lot of times it just seems so complicated. It seems like a headache. You don't know where to turn, what to ask. This is a great way to just start that process. Give us a call. The number's on your screen, 737-7587. We're talking with the legal expert from the Kennedy Law Firm, of course, the founder, Kevin Kennedy. Kevin, we often say the law is complicated, which is one of the main reasons that you want a lawyer. But I don't know what you would do if you didn't have a lawyer to interpret everything, because it gets more and more complicated.
Yes, and remember, the lawyers, they always say, well, Kevin, what's the law? The law is the law, and then it takes skilled lawyers to interpret your facts to that law. And everybody has their own opinion, and you go to the judge, he's got his opinion, and if you don't like it, you appeal it, and there's 3 judges, then they give their opinion, and 1 might agree with you and 2 not, and that's the dissenting opinion. And if you don't like that, appeal it, and there's 5 judges, and 3 might be with you. It's always in the argument and the interpretation. It's the presentation and preparation, Chuck.
Absolutely.
It'll always make a difference.
And Kevin, we see more and more on the news. People, you see this footage and people are taking out, their cameras and they're recording the situation. There may be an altercation,
yes.
A traffic accident, so many different kinds of accidents and that sort of thing. So people I know often say, though, is it legal to take your camera out, tape a situation? Maybe you were in a traffic stop and an officer approaches you. Are you able to take your camera out? Do you need to alert them saying, I am going to videotape this?
Yeah, people do it every day, all the time. And I tell people after, since we were on the last show, I myself was involved in a car wreck. So, I'm trying to process after the wreck. Okay, let's practice what you preach. Had a witness, don't leave me. Got him. Put on the photographs. Run a little video. And so even when I'm teaching everyone that's listening, I have to apply it to my life. And in a split second, those decisions have to be made. And that's why when you get to learn on this, then you understand, you know what to do. And the police are coming on you. They're on you real quick. And you got to know how to handle it. If you don't, you will be very disappointed. And if the first things you say on that police report, your words will be used against you. So think very carefully and then act. That's the best advice I can give. It's good for them. It's good for me. It's good for all of us.
Absolutely. And Kevin, you cut out just a little bit there, but as far as your advice, when somebody says, be careful about how much you say, whether it's a traffic accident or some other kind of altercation, kind of expound on that.
Well, the truth is, if the police came up to you, we still have an absolute right to remain silent. We have a constitutional right not to make any incriminating statements. That's why they have the Miranda warnings. And if someone were to ever say, okay, Chuck, you got the right to remain silent. You got the right to an attorney. Do you understand that? You say, yes, I do, and I understand, and I'm going to use those rights. Thank you, and I'll wait till I talk to an attorney. And so there's a professional way to handle those things. They say 90% of the people in the penitentiary are there because they talked. Sarah was with me today. We were in court, and a guy came in and he was talking too much. The officers called him out. I said, sir, step out in the hall. And he just still didn't want to quit talking. So it's really dangerous, but I'm glad I intervened. And he said, well, can't we have freedom of speech? Well, when you go in that courtroom, that judge owns that courtroom, and whatever he says is the way it's going to be. And so we are sensitive. We're in their territory. We want to go by the rules, but be very careful what you say. Road rage is more than ever. I don't want to increase or agitate anyone because we will become, we'll end up being the losers. So yes, I'd bridle the tongue. It's sharper than a two-edged sword.
Absolutely. So once again, good to know. All right, if you do have one of those questions or comments, one of those legal questions you've been wondering about, maybe it's not just for you, maybe it's for a family member or a friend, you've been discussing it, this is your chance to call and get some great legal advice from the expert himself, Kevin Kennedy. We're going back to the lines right now. Rosemary is with us. Rosemary, good evening. We're glad you're watching Open Line. Do you have a question for Kevin?
I do. I'm trying to learn from my past experience, and I'm not getting a whole lot of feedback, so I'm hoping Mr. Kennedy can help me with that. I've heard, for example, that a lot of the larger larger organizations that deal with customer service and that kind of thing on the phone have put their certain customers in categories, and they have little codes, for people they don't want to deal with or whatever. And I'm wondering, I guess I'm looking for maybe a secret of the legal profession, if there is such a thing. And let me just briefly explain. I've had two exact same experiences with two different attorneys. One was a trial lawyer, the other was not. And in both in the first instance, in both instances, I was vetted pretty heavily before either one agreed to work with me. In the first instance, the attorney took my money. I didn't hear anything, and that's, I guess maybe common if you think they're working on your case or whatever. And because I've heard the most common complaint about attorneys is they don't return phone calls, or at least not in as timely a manner as maybe their clients would like. So I didn't give it much thought, and then time went on, and then, I think I got some excuses too. He's working on something, and he's getting to it or whatever. And finally I just said, it's been X number of weeks or whatever, and she said, he'll call you or he'll contact you. And the only contact I got was an email saying, I'm sorry, it was my check was returned. It had not been cashed. And it just said, sorry, I'm not able to work with you. Now, of course, I had to find another attorney at that point. So it would have been helpful to have had some specifics because I was totally caught off guard. Now, that was a litigator. In the current instance, this would be like a one-time situation. And again, I was vetted for an hour, and then we had a Zoom conference with two of my advisors from different perspectives, we needed sort of a group thing. And same thing. I shortly after the conference, it was great speaking with you and these two other people. I regret we're not going to be able to go forward. I have tried to get answers from the firm. I haven't been able to get in touch with the attorney directly. I've been told that maybe one of his people will call me. I've been told this a couple of times, but now I've been told it's another individual. And then, so I've been asking questions. Doesn't the head of the firm have to sign off on something like this? I think there's some red flags. But it's not helpful for me going forward if I'm going to keep repeating the same mistakes. Or, I know there are a lot of people that post a lot of things online, and that leads to problems or whatever. But I've had more issues with things on a line that's been posted about me because I'm very outspoken.
All right.
Well, Rosemary, here's the deal. The deal is what your experience we see a lot of during the pandemic. So many lawyers went home. They just didn't come out. Well, when you take half the lawyers out, then the other lawyers are covered up. And you say, wow, so then they start this very selective process of trying to evaluate, can I make a living with this case or do I not? And quite frankly, I would rather have one say they're not than one take the case and keep me tied up for valuable time, a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then say they're out. So, the truth is it's good for you to meet and get your chemistry, and you've got to feel and they've got to feel. And if they don't want to do business, okay, that's true in every line. If we bring a contractor in and we have a good relationship, because things can go bad even there. So I'm telling you, you got to kind of go with your gut feeling. And if you don't think that y'all are jiving, then don't invest. And many times you have to look and look and look till you find one that you feel comfortable with. And it's not that they've done anything illegal or wrong. It's just the environment that we find ourselves. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for your question, your comments. You're spot on it.
Absolutely, Rosemary. We're glad that you called. That was an interesting situation. So, we always appreciate it when you call with those comments and those questions. We're going right back to our line right now. Walter is on the line with us. Walter, good evening. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Good evening. Yes, I was wondering, I was in an accident at work. And I settled with the insurance company. And my question is, my attorney, we all had reached agreement to settle for this amount of money, but I have a lifetime agreement to go to the doctor whenever I'm having problems with what I have going on. Now, from my understanding, The insurance is trying to buy that out.
And so you're wondering what to do now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good question, Walter. Here's the deal. I'm glad you got a lawyer. What you're talking about is a workers' comp, and your lawyer negotiates the best he can to get a settlement, and he takes a little percentage under workers' comp. 20% in the state of Tennessee. They make exceptions. That's a personal injury that doesn't take a third, takes 20%. Now, the real world is this. The lawyer can negotiate all day long. That insurance company, yes, said, we're going to take care of your medical for the remainder of your life. We keep those medicals open, is what they say. Well, then what do you do when you go in there and they fight you? So glad that you had a lawyer. You'll have to take it back to your lawyer and say, hey, I've got this. That's breaching the agreement. He can write a letter, or he may even have to file suit on your behalf. But you're doing the very best you can. Will the insurance companies double cross you? Do we get new adjusters and they say, I'm not going to honor that now? We see everything. One insurance company files bankruptcy. You say, Kevin, no. Yes, in my career. And you know what you get when an insurance files bankruptcy? The zip. You know, when people do business with you and a contractor files bankruptcy, you know what you get? Nothing. That's part of the risk of doing business. So you want to check whoever we're doing business with. But the squeaky door gets the oil. You keep pursuing that and try to get your medicals covered.
All right, good to know, Walter. We appreciate that call. If you do have one of those questions, those legal questions you've been wondering about, whether it's personal injury, whether it's estate planning, whether it's something to do with insurance, just make sure you get online with us at 737-7587. We'll take a short break, but Open Line continues right after that.